in the end of August later this year. We know 4 of them. We don't know the last one. Will it be the Ivory Coast? Will it be Cameroon? Well, we will know in about 2 hours' time. Senegal have already beaten Nigeria 84 points to 63. Even though they beat them quite convincingly, it doesn't affect matters. It still means that Nigeria will go through as group winners. Senegal will go through in 2nd spot. And we've also seen the Central African Republic getting the better of Rwanda in the 2nd game. Now that game was a bit of a dead rubber. Neither team could qualify. But the Central African Republic finishing strongly their qualifying campaign. But this is the one that we've all been waiting for. Can the Ivory Coast get it done? I'll just guide you through the various permutations that can happen here. There's only a few. So for the Ivory Coast, they will qualify, they will go to the World Cup if they win against Mali today by at least 13 points. So that's the first thing they need to try and do. Or if they win by 12 points, they must score at least 136 points, which you'd say is a little unlikely. So I think their primary objective has to be to beat Mali by at least 13 today. And quite simply, if they don't do that, then Cameroon will qualify. So if the Ivory Coast win by 13 or more, they qualify. If they don't, Cameroon will. So it will be all eyes on this. No doubt the Cameroonian team will be all huddled around a TV somewhere watching this, desperately praying that Mali can do them a favour here. This is going to be fascinating stuff, of course, played in front of their home crowd as well. It's going to be bouncing, it's going to be loud. And can the crowd roar them on to success here, the Ivory Coast? So the 2 teams have been introduced to the crowd. And we are just about 6 or so minutes away from tip-off. But before we get underway, we will just pause momentarily for both the Mali and the Ivory Coast national anthem.
De Monsieur Wael Ibrahim Mohamed Mustafa de l'Égypte. Madame Anne-Marie sera la déléguée technique de ce match pour la FIBA. Mesdames et messieurs, je vais vous demander de vous lever pour les hymnes nationaux. Nous commencerons par celui du Mali. Mesdames et messieurs, nous restons calmes et nous restons. Nous allons reprendre dans quelques instants l'hymne national du Mali. Nous demandons à la technique de bien remettre l'hymne national de l'équipe nationale du Mali. On la recommencera, s'il vous plaît. incident. Est-ce que vous pouvez repartir rapidement pour l'hymne national du Mali? Sixième fenêtre. Ok, l'hymne national du Mali maintenant.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what is happening here. Certainly earlier on we had some problems with the national anthems in the first game that we brought you between Senegal and Nigeria, and it looks as though we've got the same problem here. We've had a few scoreboard issues as well. It's not been a great day for technology here in Abidjan, that's for sure. So just like the first game, it certainly appears as though we're going to be a little bit delayed with this one. Here we go again, take two. I think even the players had somewhat lost interest there. All a bit of a bizarre scenario. I think the players just want to get on with things, if truth be told.
Nous allons demander aux équipes nationales du Mali de se remettre en place, s'il vous plaît. On va présenter en nous demandant sincèrement nos excuses pour la technique. Monsieur le ministre, veuillez recevoir nos excuses plates et distinguées. Nous allons demander à l'équipe nationale du Mali de se remettre en place. Nous allons reparer le tir, s'assurer que effectivement l'hymne national du Mali est celle-là même qui est programmée.
Well, it doesn't quite appear as though anyone has a clue what's going on out there right now. We're supposed to tip off in 60 seconds, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Mali team have stepped off court. The Ivory Coast team are huddled together on the court. As I say, I think the players just would quite like just to get on with things here. Either way, let's not let national anthem gate detract from what is a huge game here for the Ivory Coast. The odds were certainly stacked against the Ivory Coast going into this last window. A convincing win against Nigeria, which was really important for them. Big win against a strong team. They then beat Rwanda last night. And it's put them in a great position to make it to China. Well, it still looks as though no one's 100% sure what's actually going on here. We're supposed to have even already started this. And of course, for the players, this isn't ideal because they would have all warmed up, and the last thing they need now is just to be standing around and going cold and allowing their muscles just to tighten up.
Bel et bien l'hymne national du Mali. On va demander aux joueurs de se replacer pour qu'on puisse passer aux hymnes nationaux. En commençant, mesdames et messieurs,
I think we're going to have to do this all again.
veuillez vous mettre debout, tout
So
le
the
monde.
Mali team will go back onto the court. And I think we're going to have the national anthems once more.
Maintenant, l'hymne national du Mali. On applaudit très fort le Mali, on applaudit très fort le Mali.
Well, we got there eventually.
Et maintenant, on reste toujours debout. L'hymne national. Beau geste. Merci, capitaine. L'hymne national de la
And now it's
Côte
time for
d'Ivoire.
the Ivory Coast anthem.
L'hymne national de la Côte d'Ivoire.
So the crowd in good voice already. And after 15 minutes of national anthems, we can hopefully have some basketball now. So we're already about 5 minutes late in tipping off here. The three referees for us today, Mr. Neves, Amakil, Mustafa as well. Well, certainly on paper for the Ivory Coast, they couldn't have better opponents today to play. They're playing a team that sit bottom in the group. They're playing a team that cannot qualify for the World Cup. They're playing a team that really will come into this with not exactly a huge amount of motivation. As we take a look at the Mali roster, and well, Ibrahim Jambo has been one of their star men. He's averaging 12.5 points a game, 5.9 rebounds a game. In fact, he's the only man in their roster that averages in double digits for points per game in qualifying, Ibrahim Jambo. Nanta Diarra and Boubacar Sidibe as well. Sidibe looking to try and crash the boards, 5.5 rebounds a game he averages. He's only playing in his third qualifying game, mind you. As for the Ivory Coast, well, plenty of talent in that roster, there's no doubt. Professor Fofana is a really nice player to watch. He's averaging 11.4 points, 4.4 rebounds a game. Guy Eddy as well, a nice player, averaging 10 points, 5.8 rebounds. Big Mohamed Cote in there as well, averaging 6.6 rebounds a game. Well, you always want it in your hands, don't you? Whenever you have a chance of qualifying, you don't want to leave it up to others. You just want to try and do it yourself, and that is exactly what the Ivory Coast can do. Remy Guiata there, the head coach of Mali.
Et toi, tu as Cote, le grand intérieur. Et passez bien devant à l'intérieur. Tous les pics là de fin de possession.
On va aller créer avec Mo, au rebond. Et puis,
Paulo Povia
d'accord? Allez les gars, c'est le moment. C'est le moment.
in charge of the Ivory Coast.
Et on ferme la raquette. En attaque, quand on fait les stops défensifs, d'abord contre-attaque, transition. Là, on peut courir sur les stops. Si on encaisse, si on encaisse systématiquement, système, ok? Premier système qu'on va jouer, on va jouer 3. Je veux la première passe à Calmer. Ok, Nianta, tu descends vers écran. Deuxième, tu sors. Et on finit pick and roll avec toi ici. On travaille long.
So just a reminder again, the Ivory Coast need to win by at least 13 points today. If they do that, they will be heading to China when the World Cup starts on August the 31st. If they don't win by 13 points or more, it will be Cameroon heading to the World Cup. It all comes down to this. So important here for the Ivory Coast to try and get off to a quick start. They can just settle a few nerves early. If they can get the crowd behind them early as well. As I said, they are playing a team in Mali who aren't playing for anything. They are bottom of the group. They cannot qualify. So here we go. We're off and running. The Ivory Coast with the opening possession. Here's Guy Eddy. Eddy drives, decides to take it on himself and lands the first blow for the Ivory Coast. Nice start for Guy Eddy. Sidibe falling back, nails the two. Here's Kone. Now Brian Pamba. Kone again. As the ball stripped off him, last touch was off. Mali, was it? I think it was. Yeah, just there. But I think it was a 24-second violation anyway. So 2 points all. It's a nice pass inside. Oh, look out. Mali have come to play as Boubacar Sidibe makes the dunk. I suppose Mali will be thinking, well, there's going to be a few nerves around the place with what's at stake. They could just catch the Ivory Coast a little cold early on. They are feeling the nerves. Here's Eddie again. 5 seconds left on the clock, throws it back outside, the three-point shot on the way. Oh, gets the roll. Looked as though he'd come up short, but finds the three, does Fofana. He had 21 points. Professor Fofana, the easiest name in the world to say. Brian Pamba, he had 18 last time out. Been to 3 World Cups in their career, have the Ivory Coast. Looking to make it 4. So this pass inside, shot clock is down to 4 and somehow gets it to go. Difficult shot from Jambo. He'll come again, he's fouled. Cote, good aggression, good penetration from him. These free throws can be so crucial coming down the stretch later on today. Misses them both. It's a nice pass inside. Greatest finish, and Cote grabs the rebound now. Eddie. Eddie throws it back outside. 3 is on the way. Mali with the rebounds. That's a nice finish as well. So Mali getting in a little too easily. Just need to tighten up the defense here. The Ivory Coast. Sidibe up to 4, Mali's lead grows to 3. Looking to try and completely evaporate that with the three-point shot of their own, comes up short. Here's Fofana. Foul is called on Cisse. That's a beautiful pass inside, easy too. That's more like it from the Ivory Coast. Fofana up to 5. Here's Sidibe. Nice off the pick and roll. Ooh. Nearly grabbed his own rebound there, but couldn't quite keep hold of it. So we'll turn it over here, Mali. And Pamba, can he catch fire again? 18 points in his last game, Brian Pamba. Fofana comes out, sets the screen, a three-point shot on the way, nails it. Guy Eddy up to 5. And the Ivory Coast lead again by 2. Diarra. Now Jambo, nice pass from Jambo. Nice, turned it over though. Brian Pamba with the steal. Pamba looking to go coast to coast, throws it back outside. Eddy, he's just made 1-3. This time he comes inside, draws the foul. And Eddy will head to the line and shoot 2. Good penetration on that occasion from Guy Eddy. To college in the States did Guy Eddy, Midland, and then Gonzaga. Respond with a 3, comes up short, nearly grabs the offensive rebound, does in the end. Good work. Throws it back outside. Sidibe. They've certainly tightened up defensively here, the Ivory Coast, and now Guy Eddy. Eddy doesn't have any support, he's got to try and do it all himself. And how about the finish? Guy Eddy has come out firing. Had to go so high up on the glass there. Make sure that he steps back so he can shoot the 3 and throws an air ball in the end. Cameroon, of course, were in Group E of the African qualifiers. They finished 3rd in their group behind Tunisia and Angola. They finished with a 7-5 record. Another scoreboard problem. Had a good 5-10 minute delay earlier on today with the scoreboard issue. Cameroon, of course, looking for their first ever World Cup appearance. Actually finished in Group E with the same record as Egypt, who finished in 4th position, but they had a better goal differential and also a huge victory over Egypt on the final day of their qualifiers last December. Meant that Cameroon finished in 3rd spot. I think at the time were certainly favourites to go on and qualify there. Closest that Cameroon have been to a world stage competition was the FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament back in 2008 when it was held in Athens in Greece. They lost to Puerto Rico and Croatia, which ended any chance of them playing at a world competition. It's a nice pass inside, needs some help, goes back outside. Now the three is on the way, and he nails it. Cote knocks it down. Trying to respond immediately, the Ivory Coast grabs his own rebound and puts in the two. Again, back outside, looking to go back to back. Looked good in the air, manages to keep it in bounds. Does well there, Mali. Another three on the way, this time too much on it, and this time Guy makes sure that he brings down the rebound. Pass all the way across the floor. Professor Fofana thought about the three, instead throws it back outside. Take your time and knock it down, which he does. It's Diabate who's up to 5 points personal, and this is just the opening quarter that Ivory Coast were after. Come out, they've shot the ball pretty well. They've played at a good tempo, and they've gone into a good lead early on. Exactly what they wanted.
On va dessous? Est-ce que je dis dessous, moi? Où? Tu suis? Et quand il y a un shoot, tu mets pas un box-out, tu pars en contre-attaque, toi? La défense d'abord! Et, oh, gardez de la maîtrise. Après, je viens de lui dire, rebond off, on remet en place.
Effectivement, c'est vrai. Mais on va encore voir. On reste encore plutôt sur le post-match et après.
Livre, gars.
Ça vient fermer, on ressort les ballons. Allez.
So they lead by 9. Just over 2.5 to go in this opening quarter. In a game where they have to win by 13 or more, the Ivory Coast. Here's Cote. Way across the floor again. Eddie came out to him. Good ball movement this from Mali. The shot clock counting down. Can't get it, but the putback dunk is good. Big time play. Boubacar Sidibe knew exactly what was coming next. Spare man in the corner. Eddie was lurking, instead he goes to Diabate, beautiful little feint. Oh yes, Diabate. So composed. Just sent the D, waited for the open shot and made sure that he knocked it down. And already the Ivory Coast have a double-digit lead. Defense again, isn't it, from the Ivory Coast? The shot clock is down to 2. He's just got to throw it up here, which he does right before the buzzer. And a great defensive possession from the hosts. And here they come again. Zerbo, nice pass. Another 3 is knocked down. This time it's Jean-Francois Kebe. And Ivory Coast have come out hot. They lead by 13. That is the magic number for the Ivory Coast today. If it stays like that, they can start looking at flights later. Diabate turned it over. He's going to try and steady himself, which he does. Nianta Diarra. We've got about 5 seconds between the shot and the game clock here. About the 3, got it away just before the buzzer. Yeah, and Mali actually thought that was the buzzer for the end of the quarter. They kind of stopped playing, lost themselves a few seconds just at the end there, and that brings to an end the first quarter. Great skills from Diabate around the back. But just what the Ivory Coast are after. At the end of 1, they lead Mali by 11, 26-15. Yeah, the FIBA Basketball World Cup app has been out for some time now. I'm sure you've all got it, but if you don't, get it. Guide you through the next few months where we wait with bated breath for the World Cup to get underway on the 31st of August. And of course, we'll then guide you through the whole World Cup as well until it draws to an end on the 15th of September. Already got a block here, Ivory Coast now for Fofana to Brian Pamba. It's a nice pass underneath. This is not going to count. It's called on the travel, and they'll turn it over. Well, they've been superb so far, the Ivory Coast, with their shot. 100% from two-point range and 55% from three-point range at the moment. Those kind of numbers will get it done every day of the week. Fofana. Need some help. Now Brian Pamba. Pamba shooting the three over the defense. Throws an air ball. He's got to get it away again. He didn't get a reset. Does get it away right before the buzzer and nails it. Brian Pamba with a big time play again for the Ivory Coast, who lead by 14 now. That is not going to count either. Whistle had already gone. Turn it over here, the Ivory Coast. Bit of a confrontation here between two of their own. Fofana just coming and stepping in, trying to calm things down a little bit. Oh, an unsportsmanlike foul is called here. Cote not happy with the call. He's not happy either, is Remy Guita. So it'll be free throw, and then they will get possession back here, the Ivory Coast. So it's another good opportunity just to try and put further distance between them. Already it's a 16-point advantage for the Ivory Coast. Here they go again, throws it back outside. 3 seconds left on the shot clock. That's why they're shooting the three from miles out, but right now it makes no odds. Brian Pamba lands another one. He's up to 8, and the Ivory Coast lead is growing and growing. He's now stepped out of bounds by quite some distance there. Fofana. Brian Pamba. It's good ball movement again here from the Ivory Coast. They're just shooting it from everywhere, and you're almost expecting it to go in. Such is the quality in which they're playing with right now. Shot clock again counting down, but drains the 2. Reduces the lead to 17. Well, he had another open look at a 3 there. Decided against shooting it on that occasion. Now Eddie. Eddie throws it back outside, has so much time to land another one. Another hammer blow. Lamizana has his first points of the game. Well, this is quite extraordinary, the way they're playing right now, the Ivory Coast. Absolutely lighting it up out here. And Mali call timeout.
Même l'arbitrage, on reste tranquille. Sinon, ça va partir. On joue 2. On est avec les deux intérieurs. Stagger. Et après...
Pas de soucis, si la première attaque on les fait contre zone transition, ça va. Okay? On fait comme ça, la prochaine attaque, dans tous les cas, on joue transition. D'accord? Transition, prochaine attaque. D'accord? Et on joue, s'il n'y a pas contre-attaque, s'il vous plaît, on joue 24 secondes pour prendre faute ou on joue ouvert comme il est arrivé. Mais on doit être patient aussi, hein. Allez les gars. À donner.
Deuxième carton, reste à jouer 6 minutes 49 secondes.
Well, this has been some start from the Ivory Coast. They already lead by 20. We've still got 6.5 minutes to go in this second quarter. That outside shot is working perfectly. Shooting the 3 at 57%. And they are still 100% from 2-point range, the Ivory Coast. That is how good it has been this opening quarter and a half. Well, Reverend Lamizana has been called on a technical foul here. I'm not entirely sure what went on. So Lamizana will head to the bench, and that's what he thought of it. That's a nice pass inside, he's fouled, and one. Chance for a three-point play. exactly what he does. And reduces the deficit to 16. Spins his way towards the hoop. Nicely done. Just a little pop off. And an easy layup. Ajayi with his first points of the game. Lead back up to 18. Shot clock is down to 3, hence the three-point shot from a long way out, nowhere near making it. Now Eddie, nice pass from Guy Eddie. Back outside. Eddie now drives into the lane, doesn't get the finish with the left hand. Almost asking him to take the three-point shot, nearly turned it over. Just about able to keep hold of it. When he got the deflection, can he keep it in bounds? No, he can't. Read the danger, did Eddie. Nearly got the steal. Ivory Coast already find themselves in the penalties, so there could be a few cheap trips to the stripe for the remaining 5 minutes of this second quarter. Foul goes on Diaruma. There's Ajayi again. It's a poor pass from Ajayi. The pass is on down the floor, and they find it as well. Doesn't get it though. Offensive rebound and gets the putback. So we've got a timeout here. Ivory Coast have called it.
Seulement le prochain attaque placée. Classique. Classique. Prochaine attaque. Classique. Diamant. Diamant. Prochaine attaque. Placée. Diamant. OK. Balle. S'il n'y a rien, pick and roll avec les grands de l'opposé et l'autre là. Tout ça. OK.
Ça, renverser le jeu. Pique, on renverse. Pas on garde du même côté. La défense est là, on renverse. Ok? On va jouer un pour Surata. Quand il a la balle, jouez sans ballon, qu'ils essaient de vous trouver. Ils vont venir aider sur lui à chaque fois. Prenez les intervalles. Si Surata il attaque là, tu viens flasher milieu.
So Ivory Coast leading by 16. Only 4 minutes to go in this first half. Can Mali somehow get it back to something like a single-digit game? That's an awful pass from Eddie. I think he went for the alley-oop there, completely on different wavelength to his teammate. Another poor turnover. A few of those in the last minute or so for the Ivory Coast. Perhaps taken their foot off the gas ever so slightly. Another offensive rebound. And Saul can't get it on the reverse and still can't get it in. Well, several opportunities there for Mali. They really should have taken one of them. Nice pass, needs to just try and make sure that he keeps hold of the ball though here. He's really hustling for it, Professor Fofana. Fofana not happy. And now he's been called on a technical foul. And it's all getting a little bit scrappy for the Ivory Coast. The second technical they've been called on. They can't make the free throw. I think he wants the ball dry, just saying that it's a little bit slippery. Any excuse when he missed a free throw. And they just do not stop. The whole game, they're up dancing and playing the drums and whatever else. Ivory Coast have it back. Need to get going again out here. A little bit quiet. Shot clock is down to 4 again. They've turned it over. Just cannot get a decent possession right now, the Ivory Coast. Still lead by 16, but they've definitely gone a little quieter over the last few minutes. Goes on Eddie. They're already in the penalty, remember, the Ivory Coast, so it will be a cheap trip to the line. One of the two. And Brian Pamba has already made a couple of threes today, has Pamba. Yeah, that's good defense. They will keep it, the Ivory Coast. Last touch off for Mali hands. Eddie, now Brian Pamba. Only got 5 seconds left on the clock here, Pamba. Pamba steps back, throws the three. It's another one off target. Huge offensive rebound, though. Back outside to Eddie. Eddie for three this time. Another one that he can't get it to go, but a foul is called underneath, and it's an unsportsmanlike foul, actually, that's been called. And once again, it's just not happening for the Ivory Coast. Goes on Cote this time. hurt from the line. They do get possession back though here to Mali. And they've turned it over. But they give it straight back, and that rather sums up the Ivory Coast over the last 2 or 3 minutes. It was so impressive for a quarter and a half. But it's got very sluggish. They've got the steal there, though. Saw that pass coming a mile off, so an opportunity to run the floor here for Diabate. Ajayi sets the screen, Diabate shooting over it, and maybe that is what they need to try and get themselves going again. Diabate knocking down the three. Well, they've got another steal here. The Ivory Coast, it's Diabate, throws up the alley-oop ball, and that is a foul. I'm almost surprised that wasn't an unsportsmanlike, you know. Have another look here. Through the alley-oop, pass up, couldn't connect. I'm not sure how much intent there was, in fairness. The free throws haven't been great from either side, really. Mali down at 42% from the stripe. Ivory Coast at about 55%. This is both again. So the lead stays at 18. Beautifully done. Passed it in, throws it away though. Here go the Ivory Coast again, who have just tightened up once more. Diabate, oh, he went for the behind the back pass. That would have been something special. And now, oh, Mali go down the other end and have missed an absolute sitter. And it goes Mali's way. Which, as you can hear, the fans certainly didn't think it should have been their ball. Entirely sure how he's missed that one. So Mali's still in possession. Another 14 seconds. But they will now turn it over. Have another look here. Yeah, there it is. Foul goes on Diawara. Eddie. Such a cheap turnover from Eddie. And now running the floor down the other end. That will count as it was on its way down. Eddie a little bit frustrated after turning the ball over initially.
On reste pas là. Okay, pas transfert, passe, screen. Mais là, ok, là. Petit détail, plus ça avance et plus on fait attention à ça. Ok. Si on joue en down, pour moi, n'oubliez pas le screen to screener. Donc,
qui est là, Issa. tu vas le jouer avec le dribble. Conside avec le dribble. Sidibé, pique, et le flair, toi, quand tu pars, tu viens au milieu de la raquette. Au milieu. Ici. Et tu renverses, joue à deux, tu joues. S'il est devant, tu peux même les donner. D'accord? On isole, pique et le flair tous les deux un petit peu. C'est pas tard. Mais toi, du côté de Issa, tu sois dans les joueurs de derrière. Allez, 5 points.
Well, didn't happen for his team earlier today. Ivory Coast with a 16-point advantage, just over a minute to go in this first half. Here is Eddie. Eddie again turns it over. He's not had a great second quarter, Guy Eddie. Gives him the open three as well, off target. Eddie, though, this time does bring down the rebound, and that rather sums it up. Gets the offensive rebound and then just puts it straight out of bounds and gives it immediately back to Mali. That's a nice bounce pass. Doesn't get it again. They've missed a few pretty simple layups. It's really nice ball movement, that. And the finish as well. We've got about, what, 3 seconds or so between the shot and the game clock here. It's an 18-point lead. Tick down every second of this. It's an awful possession. It really is. Not entirely sure what he was doing there. He's wasted so much time. Now they've got 1.7 seconds here, the Ivory Coast, to try and advance the ball down the floor and get the final shot away of this first half. They might just check that. I've got a feeling there might be a little longer than 1.7 seconds, actually. Maybe about 3 seconds or so to go. So 3 seconds exactly. Can they end this first half in style here, the Ivory Coast? They already lead by 18. Can they get it up to a 20-point lead to finish it off? Here they go, throws up the little teardrop, can't get it, and that will be that. Brings to an end a pretty positive first half from the Ivory Coast. They have to win this game by 13 or more to qualify for the World Cup. Well, at the moment, it is definitely going to plan. At half-time, it's the Ivory Coast 44, Mali 26. Here are the stats then. You can see how well the Ivory Coast have shot the ball. They were at 100% from two-point range for a large part of that first half. It just went off the boil a little bit those final few minutes, but on the whole, and shooting the three at over 50% as well. 12 turnovers each. Both sides would quite like to just tighten that up a bit as this game goes on. But certainly at the moment, for the fans inside this hall and the Ivory Coast team, it's so far so good. what will the second half bring? Do join us again in around 10 minutes' time when it'll get started.
Bienvenue à la délégation malienne, les supporters de l'équipe nationale, tous les supporters maliens, ceux qui nous prennent en marche. Nous sommes dans 4 petites minutes à l'entame de la seconde partie de ce match Côte d'Ivoire-Mali comptant pour le second tour de 6e fenêtre. Qualification zone Afrique pour la Coupe du Monde. Dans quelques instants, et je vous dis dans quelques instants, on saura qui les 16 nations qui ont entamé cette course depuis 2 ans déjà, les 16 nations, on saura qui partira pour la Coupe du Monde. On saura que 5 à 5 qui auront le ticket à l'issue de ces rencontres. 5 nations qui nous représenteront valablement. Tandis que en Asie, il y en aura 7. En Amérique, il y en aura effectivement 7 aussi. En Europe, le grand évidemment, le pays hôte, la Chine, est dans la région de l'Asie. 32 équipes qui seront.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Palais des Sports de Tricqueville here in the Ivory Coast. And it is a huge game for the hosts right now as they try and book their spot in the World Cup. When it gets underway on the 31st of August later this year, it concludes on the 15th of September. 5 teams from Africa go through to the World Cup. We know 4 of them: Tunisia, Angola, Senegal, Nigeria. We just don't know who the 5th and final team will be. We know it's between 2. It will either be the Ivory Coast or Cameroon. At the moment, if scores stay as they are in this one, with the Ivory Coast leading by 18 right now, 44 points to 26 against Mali, that would be sufficient for the Ivory Coast to book their spot in the World Cup in that final 5th spot. They have to beat Mali by 13 points or more to go through. Otherwise, it is Cameroon who will be heading through. Cameroon, of course, were in Group E in the African qualifiers, so they finished their qualification campaign a couple of months ago. Cameroon finishing with a 7-5 record in that 3rd spot. And the Ivory Coast would also have the same record here. If they were to win by 13 or more, they would go through. So Cameroon will be watching intently. They won't be loving what they've seen just yet. There was definitely a bit of a lapse in concentration, though, by the Ivory Coast in that second quarter, because they were going along beautifully. Their 3-point shot especially was working, and all of a sudden they just went a little bit flat and allowed Mali just to regain some composure. So what can Mali find? Of course, I suppose the annoying thing for Cameroon right now is that Mali aren't playing for anything. They sit bottom of this group. They have no chance of qualifying. They are simply almost playing to make up the numbers and just to finish off their game. So from that point of view, obviously motivation could be an issue. But they need to try and make a 6-point swing across this second half. And it is Mali who get the third quarter underway, trailing 44 points to 26 right now. And here is Sidibe. Looking to get off to a positive start here, and that's exactly what they do. The first points of the second half belong to Benka Diaruma. And he's up to 4 points. Diabate, 4 for 6 from the field today. Diabate, the pass out to the corner, takes his time, lines up the 3. Brian Pamba's already made 2 from beyond the arc. He's got 8 points personal. Off target with that one. Sidibe. Sidibe drives to the baseline, nice pass as well, and they get the roll. And he looks to the referee as if to say, come on, surely I was fouled there as well. Wanted the and one, doesn't get it. Nice start to this third quarter from Mali, but the Ivory Coast respond immediately with Mohamed Cote. Turnover, and now the fast break. It's 3 against 1 here into Guy Eddy. Look out! And I'm surprised that the hoop is still standing. Up to 11 points for Guy Eddy. Drives into the lane, too easy. Needs some help. He's got 2 green shirts all around him, and he will turn it over. Oh, it's a big block from Cote. Back outside though. Here they come again. Eddy this time. Last touch was off Ivory Coast, so Mali will keep it. Only 3 seconds left on the clock. Turn it over again. It's a cheap one, has options to his right. Not quite sure they were expecting it. And in the end, they've somewhat lost the opportunity there, but in the end, he draws the foul. Good sportsmanship from Diabate, who I think realised it's the foul and goes up to help him. Sidibe. So the lead is 16. They just want to go on a bit of a run here, Ivory Coast, and just put this one to bed. I know if they can get up to kind of a 25-point lead, Cote maybe should have just focused on the 2, trying to outdo Guy Eddy. made that big one-handed dunk just a moment or so ago. Lucky grabs his own rebound, still can't put it back. Cote eventually brings it down. Now Eddie out to the corner. Foot was on the line, it would have only been a 2, but Cote grabs the offensive rebounds. Nice pass, Cote again. Cote wants it back. Called on the travel, will turn it over. Cisse. Right hand jump hook, no good, but the offensive rebound, they still can't put it in. And they've still got it here, Mali. Oh, it's Port left the ball behind, and Diabate is going to make no mistake down the other end. So the lead is 18. Nice pass played inside. Another difficult shot, though. They can't get it to go. Just doing enough defensively. Diabate throws up the alley-oop. Cote somehow gets it back, is fouled. And Cote will head to the stripe and shoot 2. Cote up to 4, the lead up to 20. Now, if they can just build on this from here over the next 4 and a bit minutes, if they can get this lead up to 25, 26, it gives them a huge cushion then, the Ivory Coast. Even if they have a bit of a nightmare in the 4th quarter, you'd still expect them to win the game by 13 or more. Throws it out to the outside, the 3-point shot. Off target, another opportunity here to stretch it. Cote back out. Fofana takes his time. Good in the air, but just can't get it to go. Touch was off in Ivory Coast hands, so Mali will keep it with 10 seconds left on the clock. Steps back, shoots the 2, nowhere near. Another miss, another chance here for Ivory Coast to extend it. Diabate. Drives back outside. Diabate has been nailing these all day long. And another one. Diabate up to 16. He is 6 for 9 from the field today. Well, Cameroon's hopes are hanging by a thread. Throws it back out, turns down to 3 though, comes inside, throws up the mid-range jumper, no good. Now the fast break is on for the Ivory Coast. It's 3 against 1. He's got pace to burn. He left the ball behind and turns it over. Oh, it's a cheap turnover. Diabate with the steal, back behind him. And no heroics, make sure of the 2. And well, you'd have to say the Ivory Coast would really have to muck up from here to not win this game by 13 or more. They have come out in this third quarter and they have put this one to bed very quickly indeed. Timeout is called.
On remet de la discipline en attaque. Là, on joue avec les 2 intérieurs. On joue avec les 2 intérieurs. Tu repasses à 3. Hey, on va jouer 5. 5. On joue 5.
On reste agressif. Manon est avec Brian, Solo et Jeff. On t'a donné. Pour courir au moment. Les gars, on lâche pas, les gars. Celui qui est fatigué, il demande un sort. Il faut qu'on soit frère.
Baisse pas la tête.
Tu me demandes, il était derrière moi tout de suite, il m'a dit, passe la balle. J'avais le shoot ouvert, j'ai vu.
Well, they've outscored Mali 13 points to 6 so far in this third quarter. They now lead by 25. And you feel that a few Cameroonian fans and players that may well be watching this might just be turning off their TV screens right about now, because at the moment it looks as though there is no way back for them. They need Mali to go on an extraordinary run now. Here's Zerbo. Turns it over. Zerbo has been called on a technical foul here. So makes the free throw. They will have possession still. throws it away. Still managed to keep hold of it. 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Went for the pretty ambitious three. Throws an air ball. Diabate down the other end of the floor. Brian Pamba. Pamba drives, throws it back outside, extra pass. Beautiful team move from the Ivory Coast. And the three-point shot just letting them down. Out to the corner, open look for three. Nails it. So, the lead back down to 21. Maybe a few TV screens just being turned back on in Cameroon. Shot clock is down, being urged on by the fans to try and get the shot away. Did so just in time, but couldn't get it to fall. Tricky shot, tries to use the glass, and in the end, the foul is called. Two and a bit seconds between the shot and the game clock here. Tick down as many seconds as they can. Throws it back outside, the little feign, and then lost the ball. Can they get the final shot away from the half court? They can, and can't get it to go. But the Ivory Coast will be pretty happy with that. They managed to outscore their opponents by 3 there. They lead by 21. It's 57-36 heading into the fourth.
World. FIBA Basketball World Cup is right here. You want it? Come and get it.
Not long to wait now. Of course, this is the final qualifying window. So we've got no more of that to look forward to over the next few months, but the 31st of August, when it all gets underway in China over 8 different venues in 8 different cities. Should be a quite incredible spectacle for just over 2 weeks or so. So final quarter underway. So far, it is going to plan for the Ivory Coast. They lead by 21. They have to win the game by 13 or more. So barring an absolute blow-up here in this final quarter, they should be fine. But of course, this is where the nerves will just begin to jangle. They'll realise how close they are to booking their spot at the World Cup. Can they still play with the freedom and the expression that they've shown over the last 3 quarters? We shall see. Drives, can't get it to go. Offensive rebounds, and it's put back. Nice start. Bali Koulibaly with his first points of the game. To Diarra, up to 4, has struggled on the whole with his shot today. He's 2 for 7 from the field. Defense from Mali on that occasion. Can they just get it back to kind of 18-19 the lead, and all of a sudden then it doesn't quite look as promising and as comfortable anymore. The drama of the World Cup. Really difficult shot, offensive rebound, really should have got it. Guy can bring the ball away. The 3 is on the way, no good. Offensive rebound though, that's important. And here he goes, swords, paws, heavy hands from Koulibaly. Poor pass, and now they can come clear. 3 against 1. He only needs 1. Kebe's up to 8. Difficult shot. Yeah, hit the rim. I was going to say he should get a reset there, which he did, and the second time of asking, he puts it back. And the lead is 21. Eddie. Shot clock is down to 3. Guy Eddie drives, the little feign, tries to use the glass, and Guy Eddie makes the 2. 13 points for him. 5 for 7 from the field today for Eddie. And nearly got the steal. I could see the idea, just a little too much pace on the pass. So timeout called.
On demande trop, ok? Hey, sur les pics, si tu roules pas, Calmer, tu mets le pic là. Quoi qu'il arrive, il faut rouler, il y a Nianta là. Comme ça, Nianta il suit. Si vous flairez, il n'y a jamais d'espace. Le joueur qui roule, c'est pour attirer la défense.
On y va, allez.
Faute à donner, les gars, faute à donner. Go. 4 fautes à donner. Dai, dai.
Ibulu guy.
Nous saluons tous les joueurs du championnat ivoirien, le basketball en France de l'année sénégale. Et
Now another 6 minutes or so for the Ivory Coast to try and hang on. They've certainly got a cushion though, with a 23-point lead. Oh, tries to throw up the alley-oop. Get it again. There's only 2 seconds left on the clock. Shooting the three, just comes up short. Rebound in the end by Sidibe. Cote. Now Jambo. Jambo. Nice pass. The left-hand jump hook shot is no good. Cote with another rebound, his 5th. Pass down the floor to Eddie. It's a cheap steal. No heroics with the layup, just make sure. Hamakone, his first points of the game. Lead back to 21. And again, they've turned it over. That's really poor from the Ivory Coast. They've got to be careful here. He's probably done that out of frustration, Ajayi. There will be 2 free throws coming up for Mali. And this is what I mean. This is where the nerves can just begin to go, because they'll be thinking, right, we're up by 25. If these 2 free throws go in, all of a sudden it's just 19, the lead. Even though they've still got a little bit of a cushion there. Not quite as big as what they had. It's Boubacar Sidibe at the line. They're still up, they're still dancing. This is the first, though. Disappointed with it as well. Sidibe. Well, misses both. They've been let off the hook there, the Ivory Coast. Pamba. Another steal and an unsportsmanlike foul called against Guy Eddy. So free throws and possession back for Mali. Going to have a look at this, the referees. Yeah, it's a little harsh, the unsportsmanlike for that. Maybe looked worse at first glance. But it has been upheld, so unsportsmanlike foul called against Guy Eddy. So it is free throws. And then the ball back as well here for Mali. So a chance to really eat into this lead. Hamakone at the line. Oh, they're letting them off the hook though. Another free throw miss. They're shooting at 36% from the foul line so far today, Mali. That percentage would just have dropped again. So Another 2 free throws have gone missing. He's given it away. He got caught in 2 minds, and now the fast break is on, led by Jehi. The whistle has gone, called on the travel, and will turn it over. The fans just getting a little bit frustrated with some of the calls now. Shooting over the defense, nowhere near with the 3. Well, the only positive for the Ivory Coast is even though they're making a few errors out there, they're not being punished at all by their opponents. Pamba into Guy Eddy. Eddy drives, chucks it back outside. The 3 nearly went up. Draws the foul. 3.5 minutes to go until the African World Cup qualifiers are all done and dusted. Pamba steps back, shoots the 2, gets it to fall. Brian Pamba's had another good game. He had 18 points last game, Pamba. He's been pretty efficient as well today. And it's been a long old road, these qualifiers. The draw was made back on the 7th of May, 2017, nearly 2 years ago, really. The first round of the first window was played on the 20th of November 2017, and it's been going ever since then. The beauty of it is that it's still coming down to the very last game to determine who will go through to the World Cup. Right now, it certainly looks as though that final spot will be filled by the Ivory Coast. Another miss for Mali. Put back is good. Lead back to 21. And we've got just under 3 minutes to go. Pamba into Cote. Cote needs some help. Can't move again. Cote just steps back, shoots the 2, and drains another. Well, they've managed this game pretty well, the Ivory Coast. They haven't really been under any kind of stress over the whole game. They came out quick. They led by 11 after the first quarter as he banks in the 3 and brings the lead back down to 20. They led by 18. After the second quarter, they led by 21 at the end of the third quarter. And they lead by 20 with 2 minutes to go in the fourth. So it's been a pretty dominant performance all the way throughout from the Ivory Coast. This certainly was a game where nerves could have played a part. It certainly hasn't looked like it. So timeout has been called by the Ivory Coast.
Voilà, on va pas se déconcentrer ces 2 minutes. On est à 2 minutes de la qualification. Okay? Septembre, c'est juste pour ça. On se regarde, on se calme Et c'est tout. Et c'est tout. Il faut juste faire 2 stops. Et on attaque, ok, on joue on-side, on-down, ok, ce qu'on veut, mais on le joue en manière efficace, en sachant de le jouer 24 secondes.
Assurez les passes, les gars.
Ok,
Assurez les
donc
passes.
posez les...
Les gars, je répète, on a 8 points à marquer. Si on marque 8, c'est fini pour eux. Rappelez-vous, si on veut gâcher la fête, 8. On est à moins 8. Moins 8. Ok? On essaye d'aller, c'est un challenge. On va chercher ça intelligemment. Ok? En attaque. Joue, conside. Et tu attends le pic. Et après on joue large. Tu joues pic. Là, et on remonte derrière. Et hop, on joue post-up. Ok? Si qui est derrière le pic ici, hein? Si qui est derrière ici, on doit le post-up à rouler.
So the lead is 20. We've got under 2 minutes to go. Mali in possession. Shooting the 3, coming up short. Grabbing the rebound. Professor Fofana. Now Cote. Cote looking to try and go himself, doesn't get the roll this time. Still had foul to give, the Ivory Coast. Here's Drama. Cote. Just deciding to shoot the 3, another one that comes up short. Can't quite prevent the ball going out of bounds, Sidibe. And the Ivory Coast back in possession with 63 seconds to go. Fofana. Pamba. Now Cote stepping back. Air ball, 24-second violation, but here come Mali down the other end of the floor, goes coast to coast and makes the layup.
Guy, sur la remise, okay, là on a fait pour gagner de l'espace. Sur la remise, toi tu fais ton cœur et après tu vas pas faire screen to screen, ok? Mais on écarte et on joue top pick si on doit jouer. D'accord? Ok, si on n'a pas déjà mis la balle à l'intérieur. Juste ça.
Ok, on essaie de gagner la balle et on joue première intention. Donc là, on attaque, ça ne veut pas dire suicide, hein. Si ça vient, on sort le ballon et là on shoot. Ok? On frappe le pick and roll. Allez.
Well, playing in front of your home fans can sometimes go one of two ways. Yes, it's always nice to be supported and have their support behind you, but with it can bring added pressure as well. But I've got to hand it to the Ivory Coast. They have dealt with it admirably over the last 3 days. They knew what was on the line, they knew what they had to do, and they have done it. That game against Nigeria on Friday was absolutely huge. Not too many people, I think, gave them much of a chance there with a big block. Still keeping up the tempo on the defensive end here, the Ivory Coast, and he goes down the other end of the floor and gets the two. Professor Fofana, the block down one end, the two down the other. And for the first time since 2010, the Ivory Coast will be playing at a World Cup in 6 months' time. The odds were stacked against them coming into this final window. They had to win all 3 of their games, and they had to win them convincingly, and that is exactly what they have done. They beat Nigeria on Friday, which was huge. They came into this one knowing they had to win by 13 or more. Well, they've won by 20, and the Ivory Coast will be going to the World Cup as the best placed 3rd team in Africa, alongside Tunisia, Angola, Senegal and Nigeria. It is job done in front of their home supporters. And now all eyes will be on the Ivory Coast to see just what they can muster in China when it all gets underway at the end of August. Buoyed on by their wonderful support over the last 3 days. And they have just performed each game. They haven't felt any pressure. Poor old Cameroon, you've got to feel for them, of course. They were fairly heavy favourites, I guess, to go through as that best placed 3rd team before this final window started. They finished 7 and 5 in Group E. And they would have been watching this, just praying that Mali could do something. I'm sure they feared the worst when the Ivory Coast beat Nigeria on Friday. They then, of course, won yesterday as well. And right from the start, as I was saying here today, they came out quickly and they dominated right from the get-go. They didn't give Mali a sniff. And really, there wasn't one stage during that game where you kind of thought, okay, they're under a bit of trouble here. They dealt with the game well. It did help, I guess, that they were playing against Mali. No disrespect to Mali, but of course, bottom of the group, and also no chance of qualifying, so motivation may well have been lacking a little bit. But take nothing away from the performance of the Ivory Coast. They still had to get it done, and that is exactly what they have done. Well, you get the feeling that the celebrations and the party will go on long into the night. And now they have the next 5 months or so to make sure that when they reach China, wherever they're played, the draw will be next month in March. But they are absolutely on it when the World Cup gets underway. Guy Eddy there leading the celebrations. He was terrific today, as was Brian Pamba, as was Diabate. They all produced today for the Ivory Coast. So here's a look at the stats then. They shot the ball so well, 67% from 2, 40% from 3. The Mali three-point shot just didn't work today, down at just 16%. Their free throws as well, they missed a lot of free throws, did Mali. 23 turnovers for the Ivory Coast. They'll be a little disappointed with that. Need to tighten that up against better sides when it eventually comes down to it. Diabate led the way with 16 points. Cote had 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Drame had 9 points for Mali. No one reaching double digits for the visitors. Diabate also had 5 steals during the game. Yeah, they reached the World Cup in 2010. Did the Ivory Coast. Didn't quite go to plan for them back there, though. They won one of their 5